Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We're getting everything set up. So, today is our first guided meditation in quite some time. I have missed you, but August kicks off with an incredibly powerful theme. Now, I'm not sure about your experience this past year, but one common thing that I've seen in a very large pattern that relates to many of us is this has been a transformative year for you. Whether it's been through chaotic situations or pleasant ones. This has been you could say, a tension filled year. There's been a lot of energy. There's been a lot of just highs and lows throughout everyone's experiences, whether it be you personally or your loved ones and friends within your vicinity. Now, the key for this is to understand that everyone is naturally already going through this process of awakening. Everyone each day is already going on this natural river of life. Now, those of you that are just joining us on Instagram, we'll see if it's going up. Looks like Instagram's messing up. So we're just going to continue to go with YouTube. Now, one of the things that needs to be understood about any type of path of awakening is not only A, is it natural, as we just discussed, but B, it can be taken control of. It can be done consciously. Now, it's really magical when you think about it that way because you have the power to pivot all of that kind of chaotic and tension and negative energy into something entirely constructive in terms of not only freeing yourself from pain, but from eliminating suffering to enhance your skills to make you more efficient. So, one thing I always like to teach is that awakening, it doesn't matter if you're spiritual or not. Awakening is just a simple process of healing yourself, of growing, of expanding beyond what is currently known. Now, I'm on a water fast, so I'm going to feel a little parched randomly throughout when I start talking. So, excuse me while I drink some water. But most importantly, we just must think that awakening is a process that happens whether you like it or not. And if you want to learn to listen to life, you can go with that. And that flow will take you to a place of amazing growth and opportunity. But if you don't want to take this path in the more conscious approach, you're going to be taught by life. And this is something that really needs to be understood because for many of you, this may resonate really strongly that as your life's gone on, you've had similar situations happen, but each time they seem to be getting worse, or you constantly have negative people around you, or of that nature, or you find yourself in these same patterns and cycles. Now, life is trying to show you a sign. It's trying to repeat these patterns, repeat these things purely because nothing's changed. And because of that, it's trying to show you with each event that, hey, this is something you should look into. This is something you should look into. And when you start breaking down life in this sense, it's very easy to see just how great of a teacher life and experience is. Because everything that we've learned, everything that we've gone through in life is a lesson. It's something to be learned. There are no such things as failures and successes. There are only lessons that we expect and those that we don't. So when you look at it like that, there's something that we need to each kind of tap into, and that's our own history, our own path, our own life thus far. And more importantly, to recognize that although your ideologies have changed, your beliefs have changed, the experiences that you've had have changed. The one thing that hasn't has been your sensation and knowing of me, this beingness, this witness, this internal observation. So today, I invite you to awaken. I invite you to heal yourself. I invite you to transform your life. And together with the first lookings that we're going to do, this is going to be the start to really kind of dive into this path of awakening, in which, again, we're all already on. So If you can, find a nice comfortable place. If it's sitting on a meditation pillow like myself, just make sure that you're not slouching and you're not leaning up against a wall. Other than that, we're going to get started off with the usual three bells and alms. And before we start, I want to start with really some silence. So before any type of words are spoken by me, we're going to marinate and just kind of let ourselves fade. Now, as the bells and the sound kind of fades from that, allow yourself just to simply listen to the silence. And when you're in this silence, again, I just want you to breathe comfortably, relax. Allow yourself to simply watch your inner environment, just like you, when your eyes are open, you watch, silently looking around you. So if you can, please find a nice proper position and relax. The path of awakening is simply the objective of looking at yourself in the reflection of a still pond. However, in this pond, stones have been cast. In what was once still waters, as a child and an infant, each conditioning, a learned behavior, ideology, belief, or emotional pattern, was tossed into your still pond. Thus a wake was created, waves rippling throughout. A traumatic experience serves as another stone tossed, and it too causes ripples and waves. Each experience in truth has the potential to create a stone to be tossed into our still pond. And the only way we remove these wakes from forming and bouncing back and forth is to remove those stones. This process of awakening is just like that. Reflection, healing your own wounds of the heart, learning from the past, simply growing. Hence why this is the natural path for each of us, for we are already and have always been walking upon it. Although many of us often stray away from the path, only to pick back up where we started and left off. We must each understand that life is a roller coaster of highs and lows, always teaching us. Some experience the highs and lows, the successes and failures, the moments of growth and stagnation. But what if I told you you have the power to get off of that ride? The truth is, you do. This is what we call spirituality, the inner looking, the inner search, the inner drive for truth, for growth, for healing, for anything and everything you seek. The timeless saying, the truth shall set you free, will and always shall be applicable, and in fact, truth. For when we learn, when we gain, when we recognize, we liberate ourselves from old patterns, old habits of behaviors, of expression, of attachment, of dullness, passion, of diluted goodness. We can free ourselves from our very own plights and causes of suffering. However, we must humbly look at ourselves and truly, truly, and humbly remove these stones. What is it that you hold on to the most? It serves as a sign that you must let go. What do you fear the most? It shows you the greatest opportunity to grow from. What is it that you doubt? What is it that you hate? All point to our own contradictions and avenues of healing. Now, in this process of awakening, in order to have the pond become still, in order to see our true self, we must take the time and look. For these patterns, these cycles have created inertia, energy, like an avalanche, gaining more and more power and speed with each accumulation of snow gained. We must recognize our own inertia, our own life can take us hurtling in various directions. But when we truly seek to eliminate them, the power to stop it is far greater, for it only takes a moment of seeing it to liberate yourself. This brings us to the doorway of meditation, which serves as the opportunity to see, the opportunity to look. You are your own teacher, subject, and student. Each of us are born and given the dealt the cards and given the roles and positions in life for our own unique experience. No one person will walk the same path, but we all must walk this path of awakening to liberate ourselves. How we come about it will be our own, but all paths in this sense lead to the same source. For all rivers feed to the ocean. Just too, your soul feeds to the one, the source, the creator. This will be recognized and experienced firsthand in due time, but you must continue this path of awakening and recognize what you are not, to reveal what you are and always have been. This is the purpose of removing the stones from the pond. For once you remove the stones, the wakes begin to settle. And just as experienced, when we learn instantly, that habit and conditioning may not vanish, but our recognition serves as the start of its demise. As we see it more, as we recognize it more, we distance ourselves. We stop feeding into the conditioning. We cease to add fuel, creating more waves. And as we allow that stone to simply die out in the energetic sense, we can pick it up. We take it out of our pond and we can see ourselves more clearly. This path of growth, this path of reflection, it serves to remind us of our greatest power, healing. And in turn, this healing is a transformative energy, something used to uplift and enhance. We must recognize we are each creators, for we manifest our external world from our inner environment, our beliefs, our thoughts, our convictions. And through sheer willpower alone, we can bend and shape this world. But you must ultimately come to recognize you must start within first. For most of our problems, if not all, are self created. But we must understand when we cease to walk this path of awakening consciously, again, life will be that greatest teacher. But ultimately, we will never be able to see ourselves for what and who we really are. Because in this imagery of the pond, those waters will always be shaking and will never be still for a single moment for you to truly gaze at your pure reflection. The beautiful aspect of life is each of us have experienced these moments when the pond has stopped to move. Whether it be working and you're in the zone, or when you're playing sports, when you're in a deep meditative state, or when you're simply having a good time letting go and living life. Those moments are the signs, the pointers of the potential of the human experience. Free, liberated, effortless, and flowing. This too could be your life all the time. So start to take notice what takes you out of these states and moments and senses of being, because they too will serve as points and signs for various stones causing wakes and ripples within your still pond. Leave no stone unturned. Continue to look. Question everything within your experience. These are the tools that will guide you to liberation, to enlightenment, to spiritual awakening, to ascending higher and higher states of consciousness. It doesn't matter the words you use. What is revealed and offered to you is more truth. And through this truth, a deep and profound trust will be gained. The recognition that you are a part of life, not separate from it, will be understood. And in its purest sense, you can finally start to truly live because you know who is living life. Many say, what is your purpose? Your purpose is first to find and discover who you really are. Because if we do not recognize who is living our life, we will always be dancing to the tune of others. This too serves as a path to wake up from our own conditionings, to wake up from our own influences and social peer pressures, to liberate ourselves from the thought patterns of our forebears, to stop the cycles and negative patterns that have plagued generations before us. It is our duty to stop these cycles. It is our right to free ourselves. But you must have the courage and the strength and the love to end what causes you pain. And although you may not experience suffering all the time, the fact it arises is the sign that you're not quite there. Because life happens, but how we respond is truly the identifier of growth. We do not need to latch on to the emotions of others. We do not need to latch on to the circumstances and our expectations not being met. But we can flow and learn that all of life serves as an opportunity to transform ourselves. And the only moment that truly exists is this current now. So each moment truly serves as an opportunity to transform yourself. You're capable of beautiful things, and this world can be a beautiful place. But the longer that we sit in the darkness of our own being and tread this path of awakening with resistance and resentment, this world can never be a beautiful place. For each one of us impacts the whole. For one shining light can guide millions. Recognize when you liberate yourself, you liberate the world. What are the stones in your own path? What are the obstacles you say are in your way? What moments has life showed you that this is true? And what tells you that you can't? Question everything diligently, thoroughly. Your life is what you make of it, and your potential is only capped at what you believe you're capable of. You must firsthand know and trust yourself to succeed. And those of us who have lived a life of intense suffering have no other choice. So the greater challenge is for those that live comfortably, with contentment. For that stagnation causes much more damage than those who have lived a life of constant challenges. However, those that have lived these lives of an uphill battle often have the least amount of hope. So know that not only can you play this game of personhood better when you awaken, you can help liberate others and uplift your community. This is the power each of us has to transform, to create. So you must take the reins of your own life and guide yourself. Walk yourself down this path in which you are already on. Yet when you do this consciously, the wind will be at your sails. It will guide you and push you along. Because this is what life wants us to do, for we are life itself. As said, each of us are already on this path of awakening. But you can either take this path of traffic jam, slow, long river approach, where it's stop and go. You get off the road, get off the river every now and then, come back. Or you can make your own shortcut. You can make your own direct route to the sea. This is the potential each of us has. This is the power each of us has. So, what holds you back? What beliefs do you assume are yours? Where was their origin? What perpetuated them? What physical, emotional, and mental traits did you receive from your parents, your grandparents, and your ancestors? How has your life been due to the position you were born in? How have your experiences shaped you? Have you learned every lesson from them? We must understand that this path is also known as healing the wounds of our hearts. Because when we are children, when we are young, we are often exposed to things we are not prepared for. So we compartmentalize, we detach. More often than not, that separation is it manifested and expressed as chaos, as some plight or trauma that holds us back from living and growing. And the purpose of life is to go to a point when you recognize that healing must arise, and then we must begin that process. Meditation, awakening, the search for truth, they are all one and the same. For when we reflect and learn and grow, we give that hug to our young self and reflect and heal the trauma and pain caused by our present understanding of how the world works. So we must understand we must constantly reflect and look back in our life as we are always growing and changing. Some lessons will be learned and left, but some, your perception will always change. Not only how you see it, but how you handle it. And this is the process we are all on. But again, through meditation, through this simple looking, we have the power to liberate ourselves. We must take a look at the imagery of the still pond, the natural process when we recognize and see the problems. Again, we can remove these stones, but just like water moves, the inertia that we've invested into them will continue to rock and sway. But the most important thing of awakening is to see what we invest ourselves into. And if it doesn't serve us, if it's not built upon love and inclusiveness and growth, then we stop putting ourselves into it and we watch it die. We watch the pole get weaker until it's gone. This too is your power, but you must express your other powers, willpower and consistency, also known as dedication. When we recognize what we're not, we're left with what we are. This is the simple process of deduction. So you don't have to listen to the assumptions of the mind and wonder what could this be, what is this, and worry and fear about the unknown. Because all that you are has been covered up by what you believe yourself to be. So when you remove these stones, when you recognize what you are, and when you stop investing in it, its energy and inertia will die out quickly, a lot more quickly than you expect. And although it may seem challenging at first, just know it is just the bratty body whining and complaining that its toys have been taken away. Learn and recognize your true position in this body, in this life, and obstacles shall never exist. Heal the wounds of your own heart and remove these stones that cause these wakes and waves. Call out to yourself, your true self, and look at all that tries to distract you from asking these powerful questions. Your path is your own, so you must shape it, consciously craft it, or you will be set upon the standard and base mode of life for all people, the lazy, slow, arduous river filled with chaos and suffering. And when you take this direct path, this path of awakening, you write your own story in the way it was always intended to be written. And you learn and grow from each moment every day. And your life can be lived with utter peace and calm, an ability to detach from any stressful or suffering situation and to see it for how it really is, so you can correct it, resolve it, and heal it. You see, this path can often be talked about what you gain, but it's not much about what you gain. It's about what you remove and let drop away and fall. Again, we are each brilliant and radiating gemstones, like many shining suns. But through our lives, we have been taught, we have suffered, we've experienced things that serve as clay covering up that shiny, shiny star. And this path of awakening, of removing these stones and healing these wounds of our hearts, washes away the sediment to reveal that shiny and beautiful divine gemstone, which always was there, but was simply covered up. You have the ability, you have the capacity, but you must ask yourselves the toughest of questions. And be relentless in your search for truth. And that is our guided meditation for this morning. Now, it's always really important just to recognize that everyone is on their own path, that each of us has our own story to live through, that each of us has our own innate skills and powers that we're better at than others. But what's really important is to understand that each of us is on this path already. And no matter where we're at in life, it's important to understand that there's always a way out, that you don't have to settle for what your current experience is, that it's not something set in stone. As life evolves, as technologies advance, we've seen the opportunities to experience and heal, grow in all these different levels. But the most powerful form of healing that we can truly undergo is this self healing. And, science still doesn't know why the placebo effect happens, but I like to express it in the term of mind over matter. And our consciousness is the highest truth. It's the one thing that you can come to experience and recognize fully that applies to everything. Everything. Because all creatures of life in this world and all matter experiences this sense of self. Chemistry is the process of, essentially alchemy of manipulating that sense of self on the smallest of levels and to combine and create. Just as a plant sends out its own chemical responses under stress or danger, just as the fly squirms when it's getting squashed, or the monkey cries and wails when its infant is killed. Don't let the Western understanding of science and things cover up your eyes in the truth that all things feel and sense life from this position of me, of I. And the brain is just matter, and that consciousness operates beyond that. There's been studies of different gurus that have been hooked up to EKG machines, and by all Western scientific fact, they should have been dead when they were meditating because they had no brain activity. Zero. But they weren't dead. They were just meditating and not here. But to us here, this Western sense, we lose our minds and can't even comprehend what we're seeing. That's because we don't have a spiritual development that's on par with our technological advancement. Each of us has the power to heal and transform ourselves far beyond what our current technology can provide us. But that's only when we really learn and grow our true powers. But the first step to any of this is discovering and awakening to who you are and what you are. And when you understand that birth and death are dualities upon each other and that life is eternal, then you're starting to understand a little bit more of what's real in this world. But until then, you must diligently search for who and what you are. Diligently, daily, all the time. Because for many of us, it's been decades of conditioning and believing that we are this body alone. But as mentioned in the meditation, the power to break all these delusions and to stop the inertia from these cycles from continuing is so much stronger. It takes a simple moment to recognize, to truly separate yourself and see things completely differently. Just a moment. But we have to give ourselves these opportunities. And in that same sense, the opportunity comes in the form of meditation. It comes in the sense of looking at these conditionings, looking and reflecting upon our lives. There's so many different patterns and cycles, but it all starts from within. No one's going to be able to smack you on the forehead and you're going to be like, and wake up. It doesn't work like that. Anything that's gained in those experiences is temporary. And Not only that, lead to the avenues of potential addiction because it's just something that you're receiving from another and from the external and not something that's radiating from within you. And that's a powerful note that I kind of want to end on, that the true spiritual search begins when you stop getting everything and doing everything outside of you and you start to really bring it back and reflect inwards. Because one of the most powerful sayings that I teach my students is, you were born and have lived through everything you need to learn to awaken right now. The fact you're even here and questioning these things, the fact you're even here and contemplating these things is the sign that you're ready and are the signs that you've been ready. Now, when we have these moments where we question, when we rebel, when we resist, when we have all these stuff going on, it's the natural signs of trying to figure things out and trying to discover. And when we stop jumping from attachment, from identity, from belief to a belief, to group, we can finally question who's the one jumping around. And as you can see, even through this simple, reasoning, that the only logical step that each of us can make is not to discover what's going on outside this world, but discover who is witnessing and experiencing it. And this has been the power of the ancient civilizations of humanity because they've asked these questions. The Vedic history shows that these were the most powerful thinkers in the universe. And through these abilities, they were able to understand different functionings of stars before the technology. They were able to understand complicated psychological theories that we've Western proved later on, or the health benefits and the physiological changes that arise within meditation. And they knew this before apparently they had the technology. So these are the things that we need to understand, that life's always been showing us these lessons, these pointers towards truth, but mainstream modern society doesn't appreciate these things because it doesn't stir up a profit. And that's something that we need to really look at as a society if we want to change this world, because ultimately we have to look within. We have to look within because only when we heal ourselves can we truly heal and help others. So it doesn't matter what your approach is, it doesn't matter what your motivations are. The facts are simple. We are born with in here and we die and leave in here. Everything we know though in that life is from this reference frame of in here, of I, of me. So what were you before you were named? What were you before you learned all these conditionings? And what are you when they're all gone? That's the kind of homework I have for you this week. We're going to continue this path of awakening in the rest of the guided meditations this month. And I really hope you enjoyed it. This is a profound opportunity and a beautiful experience to transform yourself. So, it's been Peter from Full Spectrum Performance. I wish you a blessed day. I hope you have a great week. I'll check in with you next Sunday. Namaste. Be sure to follow, subscribe. If you like this stuff and you think it's helped you and it's changed your life in any way, please share. Please give it the thumbs up. Please comment. YouTube, boost your algorithm ratings with more, I guess you would say, communication and sharing and all that stuff. So please participate. Everything's appreciated. Have a great day. Bye.